up the 888K then Phelan. Or you should be in the parking lot at 435 Phelan. 1513.
All right, welcome back to Mondays with Mike on this beautiful, if not cold, Monday here in Minnesota. I think it's about 0 degrees right now, so it's definitely cold. And we're out, the cat team's out working, trying to locate somebody right now, so we will not be monitoring them live right now because we don't want to give away where they are or what they're doing. But I will be monitoring them, hopefully quietly. And then we'll be able to see what else is going on. It's been a little bit of a busy day so far. I was out of town. I've only been back in town for a few hours, but since I've been in the car, it's been pretty steady, both with accidents and with other shenanigans going on in the city, cars being stolen. Anytime it's this cold, people will steal cars just to get around because they don't want to walk. We're southbound on Western at Minnehaha right now, coming into an area where we get a lot of cars are stolen here. I'm not really sure. We used to have a couple different families of youth that were prolific car thieves, but they've moved out of the neighborhood. But for some reason, we still are experiencing auto thefts in this area. But still southbound on Western at University, and we're gonna go east. So I was in Oklahoma for a few days. I had to go down there for a family funeral, and it was kind of a delayed funeral, but it was a lot like a family reunion, so it was a lot of fun to see family members. But you sure don't appreciate how great we have it up here in Minnesota till you go to an area where they just don't have the kind of economy and housing stock that we have up here. I was in a very small town in Oklahoma, and it was fun. It's always fun to go to other places, but when you can't just run to a Starbucks or Caribou or somewhere like that, it's a little bit of a culture shock. Not for me, because I don't drink coffee, but for my wife and my kids. But we managed to find a McDonald's so that we could get some iced coffee. So we're eastbound now on University at Farrington. headed back to the state capitol. The state capitol's been very busy. They're in session right now. A lot of issues before them. We're just pretty much like every year, we're just begging for some money.
2266. Any update on the bus? 2268, we're control for now. We're just waiting for control up here now, Pat. We quit doing the track.
So the state has an $18 billion surplus this year, but a lot of that money, it sounds like, is going to go into early family childhood education and schools and programs to support youth. A lot of criminal justice prevention and intervention type grants that will be given to organizations that work with youth to keep them out of trouble and keep them on the right path or get them out of trouble. I think some targeted reentry that's focused on getting people who are just getting out of prison or out of jail and giving them some resources so that they're successful when they get back out on the street. Part of the problem, of course, when they go to prison is they come out and they don't have any money, or they get a very small stipend, I believe, when they get out, but they don't have housing, they don't have a job, they don't have those things that you need to be a productive citizen. And so there's a lot of work to try to support them and get them back on the right track and being a productive citizen who's a good member of our communities. Of course, with the work that we do in the CAT team and at the sheriff's office, we really focus on a lot of work with youth that are involved in the criminal justice system, and we want to see some of that money spent on working with those kids, especially the ones that need a little more intense intervention, and that's difficult to do without being in a residential type setting. And so we are supporting a plan to create small homes that would allow for a handful of kids to get intensive treatment and counseling and the stuff that they need to try to overcome whatever demons are haunting them and become young adults that have a good future. So
got a medical. You probably disregard 395.
I have to have my main radio down a little bit because of the work that we're doing right now, but I have my portable radio on my hip here that's keeping us updated, so if anything exciting happens, we'll get involved with it. I wasn't sure I was going to make it back today just because it's so cold in Oklahoma this morning, and they're not used to it like we are. I have to say I was a little nervous about the guy de-icing the plane because I'm used to the big machines that we have that de-ice the planes at our airport, and This was a guy with a hose, basically, de-icing the plane. But it apparently worked, and I made it home. We're northbound on Rice Street right here. This is one of the older commercial areas in St. Paul. And I know the county has been working with the city and looking at trying to do some redevelopment here to make it a little more friendly to small businesses and hopefully fix some of the potholes in the street here.
Copy. Underball 96.
1954. So I just got a text with a suspect vehicle from a shots fired yesterday. I'm not gonna give out the description of the vehicle, but we'll look for it while we're out. I don't know the circumstances of that because I was out of town, but now I know if I see this vehicle. One of the things we really count on now is that there are cameras everywhere, literally everywhere. We had a carjacking case. I know we've talked about it on Friday nights in Arden Hills, which is a suburb of, and it's one of our contract cities. It's a suburb of kind of in the middle of north of St. Paul and Minneapolis, where a lady was carjacked in her car as she was coming to work, and he forced her to drive to the city of Minneapolis and stop at a couple of ATMs, or an ATM a couple of times on the way. And it was a pretty heinous case. We were able to track that suspect on cameras after he got out of the car, literally for a mile, with private cameras from the businesses, public safety cameras, Metro Transit cameras, all the way to a small store that of course had surveillance cameras that gave us a good photo of the suspect. And then we were able to track that suspect down. It's just tremendous work by our CAT team, our apprehension team, and our criminal investigations unit, who we don't talk about them enough, but we will be. Our criminal investigations unit handles all of the cases that occur in our 7 contract cities, but they also assist other agencies with their criminal cases. And they just do a tremendous job. And like everywhere else, we're short-staffed, so they carry big caseloads. We've had 2 of our folks recruited to other agencies recently, which has left us a little bit short in there. But we're fortunate to have the leadership of Sergeant Josh Adams in there, and he carries a lot of weight making sure that all those cases are properly managed and handled. We're over on the east side of St. Paul now on Maryland Avenue. I know if you are used to riding with us on Friday nights, you're familiar with Maryland Avenue. This is the street with the chase that was probably going 140 miles an hour. Well, the car was. We weren't. And he ended up crashing and totaling his car and a couple other cars.
Long mark is going to be live. Copy. Twenty-four 15 control.
24.
At night, it's a different world over here. I was always surprised when I first became a cop, the how different it is at night versus during the day. At night it's dark and you can't see much, and there aren't as many people out and about moving around, and during the day you get to see everything. And for you get to see really what a great city we have in St. Paul, as well as our contract cities. It's that time of day where school buses are bringing kids home for the day, and that's one of the factors that we look at when we determine whether or not it's safe to be chasing a vehicle that flees from us or a stolen vehicle. Is we have to factor in the traffic levels and the weather and the presence of school buses and kids, and it's a very different world in the middle of the night than it is during the day. Still eastbound on Maryland. We're coming up to Clarence here. Passing the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, or the BCA. It's our state law enforcement investigative agency. We have a state patrol that patrols the highways and does traffic law enforcement, and in the outstate area supports the smaller agencies, but in statewide they investigate cases. The BCA investigates cases of murders and shootings and stabbings, deadly force used by officers, incidents where someone dies while in the custody of officers or of corrections officers, any allegations of criminal sexual conduct against officers. So they're very busy. There's been a lot of violent incidents in the outstate areas. We've had a couple officer-involved shootings in the last couple of weeks where officers have been shot. There was one in Winstead where 2 deputies were shot, and here in Ramsey County in White Bear Lake, one of our officers, who's actually one of our negotiators, was shot responding to they were trying to arrest someone who had a felony warrant for domestic assault, and he met them with gunfire. I don't want to talk too much about that case because it'll end up going to court, and I was there, but we ended up successfully negotiating his surrender with our negotiations team. It's a multi-jurisdictional team that from officers and our deputies from throughout the county who will negotiate with barricaded suspects or hostage situations, and are available to talk to suicidal suspects and, you know, anyone who I think would benefit from having someone who's better trained talking to them. So sometimes officers, even though it's not a really serious incident and the person's only threatening to harm themselves, officers will use the negotiators to try to de-escalate that situation. They go through a basic negotiations training from the FBI, and then they go through obviously constant training where they learn how to talk to individuals that are homicidal, suicidal, depressed, or just mentally ill or high and violent, and learn the best ways to de-escalate those situations. We have Commander Mary Kay Skelly is our commander of our negotiations team, and she does a tremendous job of keeping them sharp and ready to respond. We're southbound on White Bear Avenue, approaching Minnehaha. You can hear, I was able to turn the radio up here a little bit, and you can hear that not a lot going on right now. Obviously, that can change it. We often describe our work as being hours of boredom punctuated by a few moments of sheer terror. So we always have to be ready, and it's you can't afford to be complacent when you're out here, because just a simple traffic stop or assisting another officer, or even stopping to talk to someone in the street, can turn violent quickly. So the hard part is balancing being ready without being overly aggressive.
10-8, can you use this 277 reviewing gospel mission on a DOC? There's a male threatening to assault staff. Lower level patio, white male in his 40s.
Okay.
So there's a call at one of our homeless shelters with a male that's disorderly, threatening the staff there. We're pretty far away from that. So we won't go, but unfortunately a lot of people that take advantage of the homeless shelters are people who are struggling with mental illness or chemical addiction. And the hard part is that because of that, they struggle to follow the rules.
5282
And
area.
oftentimes the staff have to intervene with people.
Either he is just turning around because it is extremely cold and windy out, or else he's a very observant little dude. Pretty much turn around and walking backwards and watching the street the entire time he's walking through the parking lot. What's that looking at sound like right now? I'll be there in just a second.
So we're southbound on White Bear. It's suburban. This is an area where we get a lot of youngsters who, when they steal cars, will come over here to get food. It's a place with a lot of fast food. We're on Suburban and we're approaching Ruth. I have to confess, we're driving by a Sonic here. I've never eaten at Sonic. So, and I saw them all over when I was in Oklahoma. So, they must be a staple down there, but I've never eaten at one. Their commercials look good, but you can't really judge it by that. So we're fortunate now that we have two shifts in CAT. We have a evening shift now that is active. We've always just kind of held over the day shift to do stuff, but now we actually have folks that work that evening shift and a day shift, and obviously they work together, but it allows us to have a little bit of overlap so that we can be a little more effective.
First one, Charlie Mary X-ray 762. Second one is Boy Edward Mary 90.
So I'm wondering, now that we had a week of some of the daytime weekday live on patrol with me last Monday and the Young and the Selfless crew on Wednesday. Let us know in the comments how you like it. I've heard good things from my family and friends, but wondering if you like the, especially the young crew. Those we couldn't ask for better cops and better deputies to be working with us. It reminds me of when I was a young copper in Minneapolis. And for those of you who don't know me, I retired from the Minneapolis Police Department after 25 years and then came over to the sheriff's office at Minneapolis. I ran a bunch of the specialized units and eventually rose to the level of what's called an inspector. So I ran one of the 5 precincts on the north side of Minneapolis for 5 years at the end of my career. But when I was over there, I had the good fortune of spending 3 years as a officer and investigator in the gang unit, and then I was promoted to sergeant and begged and pleaded and they let me stay in the gang unit as a sergeant for another 3 years. And our CAT team reminds me of those days. Young officers who just want to do a good job and make our community safer, but that are still learning how to do that. Uh-oh. I turned onto a road that's not been plowed very well, and it's got some pretty bad divots in it. Or what do you, ruts. If you don't get the streets plowed right away, the snow gets packed down hard, and then when it freezes, you get these horrible ruts.
277-278, can you guys head up to 800 Gray Street, number 208? Check on the caller, her 12-year-old. She wants to move from the house. The juvenile's been threatening her, and I was with her earlier today.
I see somebody posted, I'm just looking over at the comments every once in a while, that divots are little and ruts are huge. I guess a divot's like on the golf course. We're driving by the Conway Rec Center. Busy place where they have a dome here if you're gonna practice soccer or lacrosse in the winter. You better have a dome, and we have some great ones here in Ramsey County and here in the city of St. Paul. This one is used a lot for soccer, and if you come by in the summer, the fields are packed from early in the morning till late at night. The radio's pretty quiet. I heard a call for a 12-year-old child that was out of control, and the parents were looking for some help with them.
Copy as far as 675 call. It's 23-year-old male, 5'10" episode. Black jacket, gray sweatpants,
Probably hearing a lot of rattling. That's because I'm on a road that has a lot of potholes, but we'll be getting off of this pretty soon. people ask me often what's the difference between a sheriff's office and a police department, which is a good question because I really didn't know as much as I thought till I came over here. But a sheriff's office, first off, the sheriff is an elected official, so the sheriff is answerable to the electorate, to the people who elect him or her. We have a female sheriff on the other side of the river, Dewana Witt, who was a major over there, and the sheriff before her left, and she was elected and is in the process now of starting her own administration over there. But the sheriffs are elected, so they answer to the people. It's one of the only opportunities, really, that the voters get to decide what their law enforcement looks like in their community. And whereas a police chief answers generally to a city council or a mayor or a city manager, and who answers to a city council. So there's a little more independence with the sheriff. A sheriff's office also runs the jail in the community. So right now, our jail currently has a population that's hovering right just about 400, a little over 400 inmates every day who are awaiting trial. So it's a pre-trial holding facility. So people who are facing serious charges or who can't make bail, although that's becoming less of an issue because bail is something that's being reformed all the time, so there's less and less cash bail. But we also get folks that are civilly committed, but there's nowhere to put them, which creates some huge issues for us. Sheriff's office in Minnesota also has jurisdiction over the waterways, rivers, lakes, etc. Even if someone dies in a pond or in their bathtub, any type of water death, we would respond. As well as we patrol the parks and trails in the county. And we do civil process. So we serve summons and subpoenas and eviction notices and stuff like that. So there's a lot that a sheriff's office does that most police agencies don't do. And we also provide the security for our courts and judges. So basically what people may know as a bailiff, the sworn deputies that work in the courts and provide security during trials, also work for the sheriff's office.
2785 White Bear in the lobby for DOC. First floor, man.
So we're northbound on White Bear. I'm gonna head up here to the northern end of the city of St. Paul, and then we'll go into Maplewood. Someone asked if there's still Hardee's in Minnesota. Actually, there are. Definitely, there's one I know of one in the city of St. Paul, but there are a lot kind of when you get outside of the cities, along the highways. But there's one on Hamlin and St. Anthony in the city of St. Paul. Right by Target and Concordia St. Paul, Concordia University St. Paul, and the William K. Finney West District. Bill Finney was the chief of St. Paul for many years, and now he works for us as an undersheriff, running our community outreach as well as our jail, pulling double duty. I forgot about that. Somebody posted that the My Pillow guy, Mike Lindell, was arrested in the Hardee's drive-thru in Mankato. Or I don't know if he was arrested, but they seized his phone. I have no idea. Well, I do know what that's about, but I'm not getting into politics here. So we're northbound on White Bear. Just about to leave the city of St. Paul. While I was out of town this weekend, it was Hockey Day in Minnesota. One of my favorite days of the year, but I missed it, and we actually hosted it in Ramsey County in White Bear Township. And Hockey Day in Minnesota is where they have televised hockey games all the way from high school teams, the boys and girls, up through college teams and the Wild. And it's an outdoor event for everyone except for the pros. And Hill Murray pulled it out over White Bear this year in overtime, is my understanding. I couldn't watch it because I was out of town. But we have some Hill Murray families and some White Bear families with hockey players in our sheriff's office. So I'm sure there was a lot of wagering and smack talking, but just great. Hockey is just a wonderful tradition here in Minnesota. I'm about to go in. This is a county arena, Aldrich Arena. There's also an indoor golf dome here, but Aldrich Arena is home ice to a lot of our high school teams here on the east side, or they play in this arena. And I had a son that played high school hockey. He's used to play here in Aldrich Arena when he played against the teams from over here. It's just a great arena. Looks like there's a game going on right now in there because there were a lot of people parked out here. In the high school quarterfinals, this place will be sold out, completely packed, and you can't find a parking spot around here. telling you, I have to check every once in a while. Check my radio and make sure it's still working.
5008. Gonna call for a point for sure. Call data. Is that you yet or?
So we're northbound on White Bear. We're in the city of Maplewood. Maplewood's chief is Chief Beardeman. Great guy. Rolls up through the ranks. They have some really, really good cops here. And we're fortunate here that our officers are very well trained and very professional, and we have probably one of the most strict licensing systems in the country. I know it's always been the most strict, but I think California now might have the same level, but we have very well-educated officers and officers that are, have been trained in the Constitution and state statutes and federal law. Still northbound on White Bear. We're into the city. Well, we're in the city of Maplewood. Crossing over Jarvis and 11th Avenue, depending on which direction you go. This is a busy thoroughfare.
Property behind the Bed Bath & Beyond at 2480 Fairview Avenue North.
I don't know, I was trying to think earlier today, is it absolute zero, the temperature when life cannot exist, that molecules can't move? I think it's 377 degrees, minus 377 degrees Kelvin, if I remember right from my physics class in high school. All I could say is when I was outside today, it felt like that. I felt like I was just gonna crack and crumble. Somebody asked on the comments, how do we handle expired license plates? Minnesota, during the COVID time, they got very far behind in issuing license plates, license tabs for license plates. So we went through a period where we really weren't enforcing it because people couldn't get them. And now that they can get them again, they're still a little bit behind, but most of the time we will just stop them and advise them that they need to get new plates. If they're grossly expired, I would say, more than 3-4 months, then some officers will issue a citation, and technically we can tow the vehicle because it's unregistered. I think most of the agencies in the metro area are not strictly enforcing that right now, but I think there'll be a time when we will again. Like everything else, enforcing those minor issues oftentimes is how we find people with warrants and get guns and narcotics off the streets. So, I'm an advocate of at least pulling folks over and having a chat with them and running their license to make sure they're not wanted for something else and sending them on their way if that's the only violation that they have. So we're close to Maplewood Mall. We'll drive through over there, but I'm gonna drive through a hotel over here where we recover a lot of stolens. Have a lot of issues with problem children over here, and when I say children, I mean problem adults.
That's 4496 on the side.
If you were with us a couple weeks ago on Friday night,
White Bear, roughly.
you would have seen us setting up here on a stolen car.
User, Spanish-speaking officer in Maplewood.
So they're requesting a Spanish-speaking officer. That's becoming more and more common as we get more and more people coming to Minnesota to work from other parts of the country, and immigrants.
363, copy the area check DLC.
DLC, what's up? I can advise.
Not gonna be advising. 825 7th Street DLC party that's left. Caller wanted an area check. Check shields.
I just talked to 22 and she'll take them.
Sorry about that. I was trying to run a license plate and it doesn't look like my query is working here. I'm going to say there's a 50% chance it's something I'm doing and 50% that it's not working right. And that's being generous to me because it's probably a 90% chance that I'm not entering something right. So our deputies, unlike some of the larger cities like St. Paul and Minneapolis, our deputies and most of the suburban agencies respond to medical calls as well as, criminal stuff. So everything from an elderly person who fell down to a heart attack to you name it, our deputies will respond because oftentimes they're closer.
Can you call the ECC shift supervisor, please?
And they're well trained to provide that kind of the bridge medical care until the paramedics get there. If you go to the larger cities in St. Paul, the fire department has medics that respond. The officers will respond if there's some criminal activity or an unknown, like someone's found and it looks like they've been beat up but they don't know what happened, or it looks like they've been hit by a car. Minneapolis is very similar. They have firefighters that are medics, and then the paramedics are ambulance crews from the local hospitals.
5284.
So we're driving into Maplewood Mall, one of our large indoor malls here in
563 Canada
the
Road,
Twin
Russell
Cities
West.
area.
Medical alarm 94, male to subscriber.
During COVID, Maplewood had been struggling. Maplewood Mall with to keep stores open, and I'm sure it was tough, but they've really rebounded and turned back into a vibrant mall. And like every mall, they struggle with the typical shoplifting, theft issues, occasional fights, kids fighting, but we have two big indoor malls in our county. This is one, Maplewood. The other one is Rosedale. There is a Ridgedale Mall, but that's not in our county. Rosedale Mall, which is in the city of Roseville, is a very busy one too. That's one that I go to a lot. It's closest to my house. I'm gonna do a little U-turn here because I saw a squad out here. I think he or she's out on an accident, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it looks like they're just towing a car out of the intersection up here. That's the other thing about when it's so cold. If you get in an accident or something happens, it's just 10 times worse. It's never a good sign when parts of your car are in the middle of the intersection.
Squad 2360.
I saw somebody posted, don't forget Harmar Mall. Yep, Harmar Mall is actually a small mall. It's very close to the Rosedale Mall. But it's home to the Harmar Superstar, if you've ever heard of the Harmar Superstar. And I can't even explain to you who he is, but he's a local celebrity.
Copy 9175.
We're on Beam Avenue. We're going to be heading back over towards White Bear. I heard a call down on White Bear and Ripley. So we'll head down that way. It's not an emergency call, but we'll head that way and see if they need any help.
2268. Come static, clear SNR.
So I watched the Chiefs and the Bengals game last night. Wow, was that ever crazy? Especially at the end there. I don't know why, because he committed a penalty, but I kind of felt bad for the linebacker that hit Patrick Mahomes out of bounds and set up the field goal, the penalty that put him in field goal range to win the game. I shouldn't feel bad for him because he committed the penalty and he should know better, but at the same time I think his adrenaline got the best of him.
log me on. We're going to log in as a Tango squad, and then we'll jump back on it.
So you may have heard that car just asked the dispatcher to log him off of the computer-aided dispatch system, which is our computer in our car, and then log him back on as a Tango car, which means he's going to be training someone. So he must have been signed on by himself before, and now he'll be
2362.
a field training officer training someone else. So if
C60, could you have them call Console 22 for me?
So if they call out on the air, they will call out as their number and then Tango, which means their training car, so everybody knows that that's a car where you may want to back them up if something serious is going on. Oftentimes those training officers will volunteer their rookies to take report calls, so that they get the experience doing that. Or an unpopular's the wrong word, but the kind of call that is a pain, like a multi-car accident that can take a long time, or a DOA where someone has died in their home, and it's a good experience for a new officer.
Captain canceling medic 1615.
Someone posted Chiefs or Eagles, who's gonna win? That's a tough one. So I was born in Wichita, Kansas, and I was only a baby there, but we spent a lot of summers there with relatives. So I was a Chiefs fan back when Lenny Dawson was the quarterback and Hank Stram was the coach, walking around with his rolled up paper in his hand. So I gotta go with the Chiefs. But the Eagles, Jalen Hurts is really looking good this year, and it'll be a good Super Bowl.
8297.
Of course, we also have, Patrick Mahomes' dad, Pat Mahomes, was a pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, too. So he has that Minnesota tie.
17. Zero Roseville squad. Tango. 5283 Tango. PFTL in this squad is Spanish speaking. We're looking for a Spanish speaker. We had PD, Spanish speaking staff. I'm not going to name. Possibly different rights. We're in the lobby of the PD. Okay, your name,
Well, it looks like that officer from Maplewood's clear here at White Bear and Ripley, so we'll just keep continuing southbound.
1618. Tango 23. Copy. $66.73. $66.73. Question third is the customers.
Just drove by Taco Bell and I was just thinking, I've never eaten at Sonic, but I've eaten at Taco Bell hundreds of times, I think. Perhaps thousands of times. I love Taco Bell.
Minneapolis know, and I'll be clear at this. Copy, you don't need to call open for a second for that.
Someone I was talking to over the weekend said, oh, it's got to be hard seeing all those horrible accidents and people killed and whatever in cars. And, you know, I had to tell them it's kind of interesting because when you work in the big city, the cars don't get going as fast for the most part. For example, what you might see if you're in a rural area or you work for the state patrol. So we're fortunate most of our accidents are not super serious. They're relatively slow speed accidents, other than those who are fleeing from us or for one reason or another just driving recklessly.
That's 40%.
Right down here, I'm just about to drive past where that Charger was that fled from us and crashed. The state patrol, I think, estimated he was going 120 at the time of the crash right here on this hill in front of us. He came up the other side, they suspect doing about 140, slowed down on the hill, came up over the crest of the hill, and didn't see a car that was driving slowly there. Rear-ended that car and then spun out and went head-on into another car. Fortunately, he was the only one that was seriously injured. But, our accident is we get to see. Someone said that's where Bob threw the spikes. Actually, Bob was with Pat. Pat tried to throw out the stop stick, but the car was going too fast. So by the time they actually saw the car, it was too late to throw the stop sticks. But it definitely gave us some material to tease Pat with for a while. But he's redeemed himself a couple times, both Bob and Pat, with the stop sticks.
That's your thing. Can you look at that? You called for a call.
Those stop sticks are a tremendous tool for us to end chases. So I don't know if you saw that guy on the right-hand side who was out in a park with a shovel.
Walking around. Male's roommates attacked the caller and spit on her. They're separated right now. name is Ricky. He's a 50-year-old black male, black shirt. He knows the caller's calling.
So that's in the Central District. We're in the East District. We'll head that way. But the guy who was in the park with the shovel, I'm going to guess he's looking for the St. Paul Winter Carnival medallion. And I didn't get to see Live on Patrol on this past Friday. I'll bet Bob and Pat talked about the Winter Carnival medallion, but it's a contest every year where people search in public places for a medallion, and there are clues given out. It's basically a treasure hunt, and Bob loves it. And they give out clues in the newspaper every day, and people determine where they think it is, and they'll go search. And as it gets closer to the end, I remember once it was at a park by my house, and literally there were hundreds of people there searching through the snow looking for it.
640 Charles. People are in the garage there. Copy. Check it out. I'm going to stay on that call until they're code for it.
Buzzy Bones says Bob definitely talked about it. Hi, Buzzy. I miss seeing you over on the north side when I worked over there, but it's good to see you. So for those who, this is your first time, we're in the city of St. Paul, Minnesota. It's the capital city. We're right across the river from Minneapolis. You're riding along with Undersheriff Mike Martin with the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office.
For 410, there should be nobody in there.
We have a live streaming called Live on Patrol, where we just want to educate people and let them see kind of what we do every day. Unfortunately, it's a little slow today, but our original time is Friday nights at 9:11. Sometimes a little bit earlier, they'll post that, but on those, there'll be multiple cameras and cars out. And then on Mondays, I'm out driving around, and then on Wednesday, we have our cat team members, our young cat team members out driving around with cameras in their car. Hopefully educating you about what we do to try to keep the public safe.
445 acre report. Squad 360 Tango.
360 Tango.
Send me a pending.
I bought new wipers a couple weeks ago, but they're already shot again because they freeze and
Negative. The
thaw
only one we
and
have is a
freeze
civil
and
issue
thaw.
that occurred
It makes them hard.
on the 18th of December. Sounded like the same male was touching the collar's.
Someone asked, what's an undersheriff? Undersheriff is like a deputy chief in a police department. The sheriff, Bob Fletcher, is our elected sheriff. He was just reelected to a new term and started earlier this month. Then we have a chief deputy, Dave Matusalem. who is similar to a chief operating officer. He kind of runs the day-to-day business of the sheriff's office, personnel, budget, policy, procedure type stuff. And then there are 4 undersheriffs, and we oversee different areas within the sheriff's office. I already talked about Bill Finney, who I still call chief. He oversees the courts and community outreach. Undersheriff Tina McNamara, who's on loan to us from the St. Paul Police Department, oversees the courts and the civil sections of the sheriff's office. Undersheriff Jeff Ramaker oversees our patrol division, so the deputies that are the primary patrol out in the contract cities. And he also oversees the water patrol. And then I oversee what's called the Regional Services Division, which is investigations, intelligence, the CAT team, the SWAT team, our mobile response team, which is basically deputies who are trained for civil unrest. And I'm not sure what else I'm in charge of, but the so we're split up, and then underneath those undersheriffs there are commanders who oversee specific units, and then obviously the sergeants who act as the first line supervisors for the sheriff's office for our deputies. They're out and about, responding to scenes, providing guidance, making sure reports get written and things are taken care of.
There's a female that called saying that she was being harassed. Sounds like she's PIC. She threatened to start hurting people and killing people if the police don't do something. Then the line disconnected. She called from a 911 phone and taken it over.
So hopefully you heard that call. A lady called in and is upset.
Ashley Williams.
She's claiming that she's going to hurt people and kill people if the police don't respond. And the dispatcher referred to her as possibly PIC, which means a person in crisis. Someone who, might be struggling with mental illness or other issues.
There's a squad that can assist.
I would say we get 10 to 20 of those calls a day from people who just a lot of times they're just in crisis, not really sure what's going on, and they call 911 looking for help or an outlet. And the deputies or the officers have to respond and try to determine what's going on.
This project can break and start for Medics, but East Harbor, 978 Northdale. The 53-year-old female that's hearing voices. She's wearing a black leather jacket, gray hoodie, and black pants.
So again, you just heard that call for to assist medics with a lady who's hearing voices and is in crisis. The hard part on those type of calls is, in reality, although officers get some basic training and some ongoing training about how to deal with people who are suffering mental health crisis or have disabilities. It's not our specialty. Let me say that, but we still have to deal with it because oftentimes those episodes can become violent, and we have to get there and assess what's going on, and then hopefully get medics there so that we can get that person the help they need. Right now there's a lot of models, co-responder models where mental health workers are embedded with police and responding to those calls. But it's a relatively new concept, and there's not really adequate funding for it yet, but I know that's something that we're looking at, because it allows us to have someone with us who's better trained to talk to that person and diagnose them, determine, what kind of help they need. Is it a medical issue? Is it a mental health issue? Do they need to go to the hospital and be assessed by a doctor? So I'm northbound on Rice Street at Larpenteur. Another Taco Bell on the right. I'm telling you, it's kind of making me hungry.
8295, 8290. The boyfriend is Michael Hansen. 79 of 86, Native American male. He's back on scene. The vehicle is a 2004 GMC Envoy, gray in color.
So that call is in the city of New Brighton. It's one of our northern suburbs, our furthest north. Well, actually, Mounds View pokes up a little higher, but it's way far away from where we are.
Rice Creek on our recovered property.
Someone posted in the comments that St. Paul has what they call the CARES unit, which goes out with the officers. It's a co-responder model where they work with people that are struggling with homelessness or mental illness or chemical dependency, other issues, and help get them the services that they need. And I think with this legislative session, there'll likely be a lot more funding for that type of stuff.
And now the mail is leaving. Headed towards Rice Creek Road. Again, that vehicle is going to be a 04 GMC Envoy Gray, Juliet Uniform Delta 035, westbound Rice Creek Road.
So we're now in the city of Little Canada, going north. Little Canada is one of our contract cities. We have cars that are assigned specifically here.
In New Brighton squad, the male did leave the child on scene. Thanks, 5 copy. Can you let Fridley know vehicle description? Copy that.
So the officers on that call, the male suspect left in the GMC Envoy. He's heading the direction where he's going to quickly be in another city, a suburb called Fridley, which is not in our county, but they asked the dispatcher to let that city know that he may be headed their way.
The caller said they're no longer on scene, so that they were hearing the email from upstairs. Didn't have any more info. left on foot. He may or may not be with another female on a bicycle. Last seen probably eastbound.
So the radio's picking up a little bit.
In New Brighton, and Shirley's been notified, and the male did say he was going to kill all of them.
So the threat that this male just made that he was going to kill everyone is one of those things that obviously concerns us greatly and raises the need to get him in custody and determine what's going on. It sounds like it was a child custody, domestic type situation, and those are some of the most dangerous ones that we face because the emotions are so high.
187, you can just use that 640 into this call.
So we have Little Canada is on our right-hand side now, and the city of Roseville is on our left-hand side. I remember right here, I went to a shooting up here one day, and the shooting occurred on the left at the apartments that were passing, and then the victim drove in a car over to the right about a block and went in. And I was relatively new over here at the sheriff's office, and I had no idea that across the street was a different city. And until officers from Roseville showed up.
Copy 8297 squad, New Brighton squads. State just got that vehicle, looks like on camera. Southbound 65 from Medtronic, Fritz's aware.
So hopefully you heard the State Patrol has the ability to monitor cameras on the highways. And they were obviously monitoring the radio and checked their cameras and saw that suspect vehicle going southbound on one of the state highways away from where the incident occurred. And so therefore they know at least a good direction of travel, which is nice.
2364. So, Hudson, Macomb, dangerous. Black BMW occupied twice by teenage girls. Passing vehicles in the middle turn lane, driving fast, racing with a four-door sedan occupied by two teenage boys. Time elapsed 2 to 3 minutes. Northbound Hudson. Delta Romeo Echo 982 is going to be a 2017 BMW black in color out of North Oaks.
So up here further north, we're going the right direction. If they're two cars are racing each other and swerving in and out of traffic, it sounded like. It's on the road that we're on. We're on Rice Street, but Rice turns into Hodgson, and we'll head up that direction. It's in the city of North Oaks, which is one of our contract cities, and they dispatched one of our deputies to that call. So we'll head up that way and see if there are kids messing around. Then they may turn around and head back south, in which case we'll be in perfect position.
Tango. You can cancel that second squad. We'll code 4 here.
Yeah, they code for the Wolfer check 372. I copy around scene.
I don't know what's going on today, but there's another Taco Bell. I think they're following me.
Squad for 17 on DOT. Squad 333. Spot 334.
334.
Here on your right-hand side, you may not be able to see it through the trees, but we're passing Vadnais Lake. This past summer, we had an incident here where a mother drowned herself and her kids, her 3 kids, in the lake. It was just a horrible incident, and our dive team, our water patrol, along with local fire agencies and some search and rescue organizations, were able to recover the mom and the 3 children. It was just a horrible tragedy, but everyone did a good job to bring some closure to that family.
Good night, 2526.
So we're in the city of Shoreview and approaching North Oaks, where the cars were seen speeding. So we'll head up in this area.
82, 52, 80, Tango. Please change the civil to a CSC. They report and assign us the mall call. We're gonna head right back.
I know it looks
10, 8290. 8290. Anoke is inquiring if we have a charge yet. That's a firm, yes, we good. That's
can see if there's an actual charge and the probable cause to stop that vehicle if they see it. Fridley is in Anoka County, so they're just covering their bases. And New Brighton responded, letting them know that yes, we have a domestic assault charge.
.175, clear system. Great.
So I'd ask you, if you're watching and you haven't done so yet, to share this feed so that other people can get involved, and or if you're on YouTube, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you'll get notified when
red Chevy Impala, no plates.
We go live.
Yeah, we just got an update from Anoka. Vehicle southbound central from 46. All at Columbia Heights now.
So they're still following that vehicle on the Department of Transportation cameras. in the city of Columbia Heights, which is south of where it was in Fridley. Tell you, I can't tell you how many times we've had the folks monitoring those cameras help us.
Over long. 81 male, conscious breathing weakness, trouble swallowing.
We've solved homicides. We've solved fleeing cases where we didn't know which way a car went. Shootings. Just because they're on it and monitoring those cameras.
5200 squad, go ahead. Yeah, 5200 there. $51.85. 50C Charlie.
I saw someone posting about when, I don't know if it was when I'm going to retire or when Bob's going to retire, but I think I can answer for both of us, which is we love what we're doing. We're having fun. We feel like we're still making a difference, and so we're going to keep working. And Bob's just a teeny bit older than I am, but
4496, 4422.
I can tell you he really enjoys what he does and being able to make a difference.
2390 White Bear, Cub, DOC, customer stealing some items, pushing female security.
So we're in the area where that car was, the two cars were chasing each other around.
Last seen westbound from the store towards White Bear about a minute ago. Female security guards following him.
I'm going to pull over just for a second here. I want to read the comments in the call and make sure I know exactly what we're looking for.
At 1651.
Oops. I fat fingered it.
4458. Disregard.
A black BMW occupied by two teenage girls, and it gives the license plates, passing vehicles in the middle turn lane, racing with another black four-door sedan occupied by two teenage boys.
5283 Tango arrived. Copy.
So we'll keep looking here.
I'm seeing other Maplewood squad go. 24. I'll be out at London Lane, McKnight, APD. Cancel, okay, let me get all situated here. I don't have one.
Thank you. 264 Tango East, sir.
So we have a license plate on one of the BMW. We're in the city of North Oaks. One of our contract cities as well, so it's one where we provide the primary police service.
You can show up and go to 12926 or 4526.
yes, I saw that black BMW that we just passed, but it was not the right license plate.
5281. What I thought, man. It's a detox. Starting at 2:30. Copy the detox.
So for those of you not from Minnesota or the Twin Cities area,
4438.
this at least once or twice a year there'll be
Paul's got to hit run McKnight to London, or a white Dodge van was struck by another vehicle, a black sedan. Is that what you got?
Yeah, that's going to be St. Paul time. So St. Paul can continue.
at least once or twice a year there'll be I see we're passing a couple of our deputies there that are probably looking for the same cars. At least once or twice a year there'll be black bears that come down from the north into this area. There's a lot of swamps and woods around here, and the bears, especially the young ones that get kicked out by mom, and the young males will be looking for mates, and they'll wander down here into these northern suburbs, and people aren't used to seeing bears down here, so they call us, and you know, the biggest thing to do is ignore them. Don't confront them. Don't approach them. Just ignore them, and they will go away. And if they get too close, then black bears are relatively easy to scare. Now I'm talking like I would scare a black bear. No, I'm scared of the black bear, but they get scared of loud noises and they'll run off. And for the most part, they're just looking for to eat in people's around people's houses, or cat food, dog food that's left out, and looking for a quick meal, and then they'll get out of there.
Code 401 in custody.
So we're on the very northern edge of our county up here. On the right side is Anoka County in the city of Lino Lakes. Actually, you'd have to go a little north to get to Lino Lakes, but we're close.
Bravo 714.
If you've ever come to Minnesota and you've been at the National Sports Center, or the Schwann Super Rink, they're just north of here, actually kind of north and east. The National Sports Center is famous for its USA Cup soccer tournament every year, or World Cup. I don't remember honestly, but it's there's hundreds of soccer teams from all over the world that will come and compete. I think they have 80 or more soccer fields, and it's crazy up there. And then the Schwann Super Rink has 8 sheets of ice all under one roof, and it's a very common place for hockey tournaments, and the USA women's hockey team practices there. There are a couple of colleges that use that as their home ice, but it's a pretty cool facility if you've never seen it.
Okay, case. Kilo. Uniform 715.
We're on County Road J at Lexington. We're going to go south on Lexington back into our county.
Right, 1659.
We'll probably keep going here for another 15 minutes to a half hour.
Change this to a juvenile court.
Then I get to go watch my daughter play basketball.
4504.
Transporting one adult male to region, starting mileage 91.4.
Copy, and which calls us off of?
AWS.
Copy that. $52 83 Tango area. Copy that.
So you can hear as it gets a little bit later, the radio traffic picks up and starts to get a little busier.
5909.
We were talking about the
For shoplifter, Walmart 1700.
shopping malls and shopping centers and shoplifting earlier, and there you just heard a officer in Roseville call out for a
21
shoplifter at the Walmart in their city.
701. $44.58, $43.33. 58. 333. Whitaker Sports, 1081 Highway 36 East on an alarm. North and south garage motion. Keys will be there in about 10 minutes. Lock out of here. 1701.
Can't tell you enough how important it is if you own a business and you don't know the officers that work your area. Make it a point to get to know them. Give them a little ownership in your business, so they're not just driving by and seeing a facade, but that they say, hey, that's Susan's business, and they kind of keep an eye out. It's easy to just drive around and everything looks the same, but when you know people that own those businesses or live in those homes, it makes a huge difference. It took me a while to learn that when I was a new cop, that when we drive down a block, you're not just driving down a block, but they're actual people that live in those houses. I know that's crazy, but when you picture the people that live there and you know them, it really gives you ownership in what you're doing and keeping it safe and keeping an eye out. Of course, the officers in the suburb where I live will tell you that every time I see them, I ask them who's keeping an eye on my house, and kind of tease them. But I know that when they drive by, they look at my house, and they'll tell me, hey, there's a new car there's a car out in front of your house, and I'll say, yeah, that's my kid's friend, which tells me they're looking. Over here on the right is a huge, I should know how many acres it is, but it's a huge parcel. That's the Twin Cities Army Ammunition Plant is what it was. And it's now not used, obviously, for that anymore. It was a huge manufacturing facility. And now there's a National Guard training facility there and some other readiness center. And they do some training back in there, but the county owns the property and is looking at developing it, and there's all kinds of politics back and forth, but it's just a beautiful little area back in there. So we're in the city of Arden Hills now, headed southbound on Lexington at Tanglewood. I don't know why the name Tanglewood just kind of makes me giggle every time I hear it, but southbound coming up to Highway 96, which is a main east-west thoroughfare through Ramsey County. One of my favorite little restaurants on the left, Shore 96. It's a bar restaurant that's frequented by some of our deputies, but I also have a son that works there a couple days a week. I know this is asking a lot, but try to keep your comments clean. One of the things that we really emphasize is being kind to people. We can criticize, or I say we, but you can criticize people in other forums and pick fights, but we want all our backseaters to get along in the backseat. Don't make me pull this car over. So it's funny because I know sometimes people will post stuff on the comments to criticize police or the work we do, but I've been a cop for now going on 33 years. You're gonna have a hard time offending me with what you say, and same with Bob and Pat, and we're looking to develop better relationships with people, and we think there's a lot more we have in common than differences that we have, and we want folks to do that. We're still south on Lexington at County Road F. coming up on Interstate 694, which is
11-1.
the north loop around the Twin Cities metro area
187. Will you log me out, please?
between 694, 494, and 94. Those are the main highways that go around the city or through the city. 94 runs right between the two cities.
Good. It's you, error case number. One 6723. Thank you. Before they continue in that case, we're over the 16723. Everything.
And Ryan 6, accident drunk.
So you can hear there's some accidents and radio's picking up a little bit this time of day. Kids come home from school, parents come home from work. Unfortunately, there are people who've been drinking all day and the alcohol's kicking in and things start to pick up, but it's definitely getting a little bit busier.
5909, go for it. 1711.
So I have a brother who lives in Los Angeles, actually, Huntington Beach. And he was telling me he's never had Chick-fil-A. He doesn't think there's one by him, but he's never had it. And I told him, Chick-fil-A has awesome macaroni and cheese. And their sandwiches are good too. Their grilled chicken nuggets, very good. But I don't know if Chick-fil-A is as popular out there in California as it is in the Midwest and in the South. I had the good fortune of going to the Southern Police Institute, which is at the University of Louisville in Kentucky, and that was where I was introduced to Chick-fil-A. They actually had it in the student cafeteria there, and I thought, this is awesome, we should get this in Minnesota, and a few years later we got it. And we got what are those donuts called? The really good donuts. I'm picturing it, but and then they went out of business.
445, running.
If you can't tell that I'm hungry, talking about food. So we're southbound on Lexington. We're coming into the city of Roseville and out of Arden Hills. Roseville, a little bit bigger suburb than most of the ones that we have. And as I said, there's a big mall here. Great police department. Chief Erica Scheider, Deputy Chief Joe Adams, who was a former member of our SWAT team and just a great guy.
That's quite good.
445 Elk, 44 keys, and we have employees on scene.
Somebody posted Krispy Kreme. That was what I was trying to remember. Krispy Kreme. We don't. We don't have them here anymore. You have to drive to Iowa to get Krispy Kreme. That's just wrong. You shouldn't have to go to Iowa to get anything, let alone Krispy Kremes.
2363, 23.
You can get a good education down there. Iowa State, University of Iowa, Drake. I'm going to leave out a bunch. Luther College.
Lord Vision, confused, dizzy, history.
But you shouldn't have to go there to get Krispy Kreme.
638 in the past. 658 there.
First time I had Krispy Kreme was when I was at the University of Louisville too. And then the next time was in Las Vegas. I think it was in the New York hotel. And then all of a sudden they opened them up here, the 2 or 3 of them, and then there was some kind of shady business going on with the franchise, and they closed them all down. Sad day for policing in Minnesota.
Staff is with the male that's headed to enter lock department that he doesn't belong in. Black male, 20 to 30, 6 foot thin, blue sweater, gray pants, will wait on the third floor.
This is the Roseville Fire Department. They have a beautiful fire department there. We've used it for a lot of training, tabletop exercises, and great staff there. And then there's city halls here.
21 last shop for
1101, code 4.
And the Roseville Ice Arena. Here, another one of our awesome sheets of ice in the state of Minnesota. Actually, a couple sheets. And one of the coolest things is the John Rose Oval, which is an outdoor skating rink
2001 White Bear.
that's open,
Confident grade GMC
and you probably can't see it very well, but I'm going to try to turn so that you can see it. But there's an outdoor skating rink there
Time lapse about 30 minutes.
where you can skate, and they have
1770.
speed skating and... Sorry, there's some little kids behind me. I didn't want to back up into them.
4422, you're clear.
You could skate around with your sweetie holding hands like an old roller rink, or you can play pickup pond hockey out there, or they play bandy, which I don't really understand, but it's like hockey with a field hockey stick and a bigger net, and I don't know, but supposedly it's really fun to play.
Forty-four 38 56 73 clear 1718.
All right, well, with that, I am going to call it an afternoon and let you go. Don't forget that on Wednesday, the Young and the Selfless, the Young Cat Team members, will be out and about and live again. So make sure you subscribe or make it so that you get a notification from Facebook. And thanks for being with me today. I really appreciate it. Have a good night.
76